So one day I was on YouTube and I was scrolling and I found this 4-hour video that had every single episode of Clone High. I watched all of it, and now I'm gonna rank all the episodes. Shout out to this guy, I guess. If you weren't aware, Clone High is a 2002 animated comedy parody. The main plot centers around a high school which is filled with clones of famous people. Our 5 main characters are Gandhi, Abraham Lincoln, Joan of Arc, John F. Kennedy, and Cleopatra. Like I said, the show is a parody. So each episode has what I like to call an anti-joke. For example, in episode 3, Gandhi is discovered to have ADD, so Abe kisses them because they're bros, and now everybody hates him because he's gay, and then forgets about Gandhi.
I'll explain later. For now, though, let's get her ranked, starting with...
So, Clone High is a very good show. It has 13 episodes, which is very little room to fuck up with. So, there's not really any bad episodes. At worst, there's one mediocre one. Episode 1 doesn't have that problem, though. This one is really funny. Basically, Abe is trying to get into JFK's party because he wants to go out with Cleopatra because, look at her. She kind of looks like a total drama character, actually. There's a fun subplot with Gandhi and Joan in this episode, which sets up their personalities for the rest of the series. And the twist with him getting non-alcoholic beer and then having to admit it in a parody of movies is fun. And the introduction of the school's insane principal, Scudworth, and his butler, Mr. Butlertron. I love how he ends every sentence by saying Weasley. It's really funny. So overall, this is a good episode, but I haven't really been attached to the characters yet, so you're gonna see it drop down a lot. Top of the list for now, though. You see, this is an immediate improvement over the other one. The other one was a bit of a cliche plot, but this one, Abe and JFK both want to be class president. This is also paired with the fact that Principal Scudworth ordered somebody to get a $2 million deal on this company. Very unethical company. It kind of reminds me of the part in Willy Wonka where Violet turns into a blueberry. Just look at Gandhi. The ending is really funny, and the song was surprisingly good. I wasn't expecting the cameo to be there, but I enjoyed it. JFK and Gandhi have a more central role here. The other episode was more centered on Joanne and Abe, so I like this one more for that fact alone. A much better episode overall, and I'm going to be putting it at the top of the list for now. Gandhi is diagnosed with ADD, and to raise awareness, Cleopatra has opened a kissing booth. There's, of course, the iconic...
I need a minute to think about this.
Other than that, this episode is still pretty funny. Gandhi is my favorite character out of the main 5, so having a semi-centered story revolving about him is really fun to me. And the part where to resolve racism, they kiss at the end, and then everybody's just homophobic, is just chef's kiss. Most of the other 2 episodes were relatively good in jokes all around, and this one is even better in jokes and has the best plot so far, so it's easily top of the list. Though Joan and JFK don't do much this episode. At a Clone High film festival, Abe makes a film about a giraffe that wants to make football. I assure you, it's extremely deep. And Gandhi makes a parody movie called Black and Tan with him and George Washington Carver, who's a recurring side character I've yet to mention. He's really funny. I like his peanut side character. Joanne is back to try and hit on Abe with her really odd film. The setup and payoff for the whole thing was really funny. Overall, it's just fun. I think it handles the parody aspect the best out of all of these episodes so far. I think getting more than one in an episode greatly improved the ability for them to be able to parody it. And I don't know what to say except it's a funny under the last one. I wasn't sold on this episode early on, but it got better and better as it kept on. The A plot is definitely the weakest one. It's got a couple of laughs, like with the JFK bit, but overall it's just kind of generic. I really like the trucker subplot that Gandhi has with this random trucker, who for some reason calls him Gandhi instead of Gandhi, but I also really like that. I think I like the more absurdist concepts, as you're going to see in a bit, which is why I also like the Mr. Butlertron rivalry, who sabotages his rival who is getting energy from number 2 pencils that people use on exams. Come on, that's just fun, okay? I'll be putting it number 2 on the list for now. Transition! A Shot in the Dark is a very fun one. It also has some decent world building, showcasing us the mutants in a rival school, who I really like the rivalry with Scudworth. I snorted laughing the first time I heard this.
How is Brian?
Delicious.
Anyway, for the plot, Joan is trying to get on the male basketball team, so she just puts on a mustache and then everybody tries to fuck her. Even JFK, who isn't attracted to her as a female but as a male, he questions his sexuality. It's got a lot of really fun sports cliches. And the whole Gandhi subplot is also amazing. Basically, he just befriends this mascot that kills people. It's hilarious. Genghis Khan's inclusion is also nice. I always liked his design. Under the Sleep episode, but above the film festival one. ASMR. Who could forget Plane Crazy? This is the episode with Ashley Angel from O-Town. If you haven't noticed yet, I really like how they do cameos of celebrities. Instead of just having them be the person, they make it some sort of parody of them, which I enjoy. Anyway, the plot of this episode is that Cleo wants to go away from A because they're canonically dating at this point because she wants to boogie it down on a random Hawaiian beach. And I mean, could you blame her? Look at Ashley Angel from O-Town. Well, Scudworth is back too. He has a whole Looney Tunes parody with the iconic "Try and catch me, bitch." They even have little title cards. That's sweet. Only other thing that's worth mentioning is the plane gag. You know, the one where in movies they're going off and leaving it to an important place on a plane, but the main character stops them right before to confess their love. Yeah, they do the joke like 7 times with 5 different characters and it gets really funny, especially when they do it with the skunk. It would be a disgrace to our Lord and Savior, Ashley Angel from O-Town, to put this anything lower than above film festival. Damn, raising the stakes. This is the best episode of the show. You know what I was talking about earlier, about how I enjoy the more absurdist parts of the comedy? The basic plot of this episode is that everybody gets high off of raisins. Some highlights were, obviously, the Gandhi hallucination trip, how Abe is constantly changing outfits and then goes to talk to an animatronic version of himself, and the iconic song where Scudworth is building a fence, not even a wall, a fence with really obvious holes, and it is genuinely really nice. You should go listen to it. This episode is really niche and it's probably not everybody's favorite, but for me personally, this is easily the best episode of the show. Yet, it doesn't have the best song. We'll get to that in a minute. Easily top of the list. Come on! Eye of the Storm is pretty good. I really like Joanne's adopted father figure, Toots. He's funny. And Joan and Cleopatra fighting because they have to move in is a pretty realistic concept. Most of the show is kind of backpedaled on the idea that Abe likes Cleo and Joan likes him. I also like how them sharing a room is provided as a war. And there's a sweet little subplot where JFK and Gandhi meet for like the first time in the series. So overall, I like this episode. I'm gonna be putting it, how about a smidge under the film festival one? This is a fan favorite episode. In fact, it's the second highest rated on IMDb. And I agree, it's surprisingly emotionally impactful. Basically, JFK has this secret friend, Ponce de Leon, and he dies because of litter. And since everybody thinks he's the authority figure, they litter because of him, and that kills him. The satirization comes from the fact that they also say that you should litter a little, because if it's all too clean, then I know something I forgot. Now, while they do satirize the concept, they don't satirize the actual death. And part of the punchline is that this is the one time that you see Ponce, and so it's kind of a joke on that whole thing. But seeing JFK emotional is just a nice change of pace. It isn't all too funny. There's a couple of good zingers, but I'd say it's around 9th funniest of the show or something. But for the emotional impact alone, I'm going to be putting it second on the list. Remember at the start when I said that there would be one mediocre episode and 13 good ones? This is that episode. The Christmas episode it's alright. The entirety of the show, except a couple of them, are really funny, and this one is a good comedy. But the plot kinda sucks. It feels kinda like a filler episode, if that makes sense. Whatever, it's decent. Bottom of the list. Makeover, makeover, makeover. Makeover, makeover. Oh my god, that song is so catchy. People are inviting others to the prom, and they have this little jingle for every time that they have a makeover. It's makeover, 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 and it's really catchy. I like the developing drama with Abe realizing he might actually like Joan, and her dressing like this. Also, the Board of Shadowy Figures is starting to attack the school, because, you know, they gotta finish the show somehow. Gotta have a finale. Also a fun subplot with JFK making Gandhi sound like GFK and just making him dress like this. It's funny. I like this episode. I'll be putting it under the ADD episode. I'm quite mixed on the finale of Clone High. It sets up the premise really well. The Board of Shadowy Figures begins to attack, and Abe realizes that he likes Joan, but my problem is at the very end, the very last frame, they freezes everybody, and it says, "To be continued," with a question mark. And it is continued in Season 2, 2022. It is technically the second season, and it isn't addressed. That's the only big problem, though. Everything else is basically perfect. I would put this under the Ponce de Leon episode, but above the ADD one. So that's Clone High. From worst to best, the episodes are Snowflake Day, a very special holiday episode. Escape to Beer Mountain, a Rope of Sand. Episode 2, Election Bluegaloo, a Rope of One's Clone. Pie of the Storm. Film Festival, Tears of a Clone. Playing Crazy, Gate Expectations. Homecoming, A Shot in the Dark. Sleep of Faith, LaRue Awakening. Makeover, the Makeover episode. ADD, the last D is for disorder. Changes, the Big Prom, Sex Romp, the Sex Finale. Litter Kills, literally. Raising the Stakes, a rock opera in 3 parts. So that's Clone High. I'd say it's much better, deserving than that piece of shit second season. And if you want me to see Rank the second season, like and subscribe.